Tory Lanez was once one of the fastest rising stars in hip-hop. Now, he's inmate number V76696 at California Correctional Institution. But even from behind bars, his story is far from over, because new developments have emerged. And if they turn out to be true, they could change the entire way this case is remembered, and possibly even reopen old questions the public thought were answered. So what's really going on with Tory Lanez now? What's the latest news? And what could it all mean for his future and the future of those around him? Let's break it down. Before we dive into the new updates, let's rewind. It all started in July 2020, when Tory Lanez, Megan Thee Stallion, and her then best friend Kelsey Harris were leaving a party hosted by Kylie Jenner. What happened next became one of the most controversial moments in modern rap history. According to prosecutors, an argument broke out in the car. Megan exited the vehicle and was then allegedly shot in the foot by Tory Lanez. She claimed he yelled, "Dance, B*******H," before firing. Tory denied it. And for 2 years, the court of public opinion was split down the middle. In December 2022, a jury found Tory guilty of 3 felony charges, including assault with a semi-automatic firearm. In August 2023, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. But that wasn't the end of it. Since his conviction, Tory has been busy behind bars, filing appeals, speaking through representatives, and trying to regain his reputation. And now, in 2025, there are new developments emerging that have his supporters talking, and his critics watching closely. Tory's legal team has filed an appeal arguing that the trial was unfair, claiming multiple issues. They argue that key text messages and witness testimony were taken out of context. They claim the judge allowed prejudicial evidence that influenced the jury. They say Kelsey Harris's inconsistent testimony should have raised more doubt. One of the biggest claims, that Tory's own decision not to testify was misrepresented during closing arguments, something his lawyers now argue violated his rights. If an appeals court agrees, that could open the door to a retrial or even resentencing. But it doesn't stop there. In late 2024, Lanez's lawyer released a statement describing his living conditions in prison. He's reportedly being held in protective custody, isolated for up to 23 hours a day. Not because he's a threat, but because of his celebrity status. Fans online have reacted with everything from sympathy to mockery. But it raises an important question. Does being famous in prison mean you get punished differently? And is that fair? Here's where things get interesting. In early 2025, a new wave of content creators, including legal analysts and podcast hosts, began picking apart the body cam footage, 911 calls, and statements made during the trial. Some claim they found contradictions. Others are re-examining Kelsey Harris's role, asking whether she told the full truth in court. There's even been speculation that private DMs and texts from people allegedly close to the case could resurface publicly. If any of this holds water, it wouldn't just boost Tory's appeal. It could cast serious doubt on how the narrative was built in the media. But that leads us to a bigger question. Now, before we go further, let's be clear. Tory was convicted in a court of law, and Megan was injured in a violent, traumatic incident. This video doesn't claim to know what really happened in that SUV, but it does ask one thing. What if the appeal reveals a serious legal mistake? What if parts of the case, not the verdict, but how it was handled, are flawed? Here's what that could mean. Public trust in the justice system could take another hit. Megan's credibility, once again, will be dragged into question, fairly or unfairly, and Tory's supporters might become louder than ever. We've seen it before, with other high-profile cases like Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. Sometimes, the appeal isn't about guilt or innocence. It's about who the public chooses to believe. Since his conviction, most of the music industry has remained silent. Many artists quietly unfollowed Tory on social media. His songs disappeared from playlists. His name stopped trending, except when it involved his prison status. But now, with new whispers of an appeal gaining traction, that silence could shift. Some fans believe there's a covert wave of industry figures who still support him, but are waiting to see what happens before speaking publicly. Others believe Tory has become a cautionary tale, a reminder that the industry will turn on you the moment you become a liability. Either way, His future in music is on thin ice, and whether he returns or not, the court of public opinion might have already passed its sentence. The internet's role in this case. One of the wildest parts of the Tory Lanez case is how much of it played out online. There were memes, conspiracy theories, leaked videos, screenshots, fake DMs, and endless TikToks breaking down every single moment of testimony. It blurred the line between reality and narrative. People picked sides based on vibes, not evidence. And by the time the verdict came out, half the internet still didn't believe it. So now, as new legal motions surface, we have to ask, can truth even survive in this kind of media storm? Or has public opinion already made up its mind? When I look at this case, I don't just see a rapper in trouble. I see a society obsessed with choosing heroes and villains. Even before the facts are in, we project our own experiences, our pain, our biases onto public figures. And suddenly it's not about the truth. It's about what we want to be true. If Tory is innocent, then we have to admit the system may have failed. If he's guilty, then we have to confront the fact that people we admire can do horrible things. Either way, the truth is complicated. And in this case, we may never get a version of it that satisfies everyone. But one thing is clear, this story isn't over. And whatever happens next will echo far beyond that courtroom. When you peel back the headlines, the memes, the arguments online, you're left with something much heavier than just a celebrity drama. The Tory Lanez case isn't just about one man and one moment of violence. It's about how society reacts when fame, power, identity, and truth collide. Whether you believe Tory was wrongfully convicted or rightfully punished, there's one thing that's undeniable. This entire situation exposed just how broken our public dialogue really is. In court, evidence was debated, witnesses were questioned, verdicts were delivered. But outside that courtroom, the trial never ended. It just moved online. It became a battlefield, one where people didn't want truth. They wanted victory. They wanted their side to win, not justice to be served. We saw people mock Megan Thee Stallion's pain. We saw others paint Tory as a monster without waiting for evidence. And somewhere in between all that noise, the actual human story got lost. This wasn't just a legal case. It was a cultural moment, a mirror reflecting how we treat women in hip-hop, how we view black men in the justice system, how we let internet narratives decide guilt before a jury even sits down. And now, as new developments surface, we're being asked to look at it all again. What if Tory's appeal has merit? What if the trial did have flaws? Does that make everything we thought we knew wrong? Or does it just remind us that real life is messy, and truth doesn't always fit into hashtags or headlines? The bigger question isn't whether Tory Lanez walks free or serves his full sentence. It's whether we, as a culture, will ever learn to look beyond the noise, to ask better questions, to listen without bias, to hold people accountable without destroying them completely. Because if we don't, then no matter what happens in that courtroom, justice will never truly be served. This case might fade from the spotlight one day, but the lessons it's leaving behind will echo for years to come.